You know, all this week, we are spotlighting the unhealthy state of states. So unhealthy that one state after another is just jumping right off a cliff. Each day, we're going to feature a different state with a different set of problems around ObamaCare. The kind of problems you're not hearing about, but on the local level, obviously that impacts a lot of folks. Today, we're taking a closer look at the state of Oregon, a state with more than 150,000 cancellations, people whose insurance policies have been taken, and not one website sign up, because it's been broken since day one. Go figure. Unhealthy State Watcher Hadley Heath says Oregon citizens thrown to the curb now can't even get back on the curb if they wanted to. That's the irony here, that if you're among the 150,000, good luck getting something, anything, right?
Right. Well, the good news for some of those consumers in Oregon, Neil, is at least the state insurance commissioner in Oregon is allowing those plans to be extended, some through March 31st, some through December 31st of next year, but they still need to rely on that website long term to work.
So let me ask you about this. We just found out earlier in the show here that at this point in the healthcare, there are about 5 million fewer Americans with insurance than there were when it started. 5 million fewer. The whole idea was to insure more and insure virtually everybody. 5 million fewer. So we have a lot of ground to make up here. And the administration today is saying the ball is rolling, the healthcare site up and running more smoothly. We're on our way. But I would imagine just the sheer math and numbers involved in states like Oregon and elsewhere indicate it's going to take a while to make that up.
Absolutely. One of the core goals of the health legislation was to expand insurance coverage to ensure that more Americans could access some form of insurance coverage. A more important question is what kind of insurance coverage, but we can get to that later. As you mentioned, the 5 million people who have lost insurance coverage are facing a very confusing situation. Some are in states like Oregon, some are in states like neighboring Washington state, where the commissioner will not allow an extension of those canceled plans. So people have to figure out if their insurance company and their commissioner are cooperating.
All right. So in Oregon, if you're one of those, you're between a rock and a hard place, you can't sign up, the state commissioner won't let you sign up, or that the president might say you can keep your policy, but it's up, as you astutely point out, to the commissioner to decide that and to decide not to do that. What do you do? And in states like Oregon and these others that are realizing this, what do they do?
When the White House talks about better technology or repairing the website, they mean healthcare.gov. They don't mean websites like Cover Oregon, as you mentioned, not able to enroll one single applicant in private insurance. The state will say that they are working on paper applications. About 200 paper applications have been submitted, and 75,000 people have been enrolled in the Medicaid program in Oregon. But that's not a reflection of the private insurance market, where no one has been able to access that insurance on their own.
Hadley, you know this stuff far better than I. What does your gut tell you on this whole healthcare law? I mean, obviously it's had a bumpy start. It's had a disaster start for millions of either have their policies revoked or their premiums dramatically hiked. The administration saying, all right, things will work out. We're well on our way. Give us time. Now, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the realities, what companies have to cover, what insurance companies have to cover. And then a year from now, all the companies that have to get online or get folks out of the line. I don't see it getting better, but am I missing something? What?
Well, unfortunately, this law, like some other major reforms, has fallen prey to political football. And I believe the future of this law depends on what Americans are saying about their own experience. If Americans believe that their own experience in the health insurance system is going to improve because of this law, that's one thing. But a Quinnipiac poll from last month says 2 to 1 Americans say their health care experience is going to be worse because of the Affordable Care Act. So it's numbers like those that I believe point the future of health reform. Either this law has to be scrapped or reformed significantly in order for Americans to accept it.
But if you'll indulge another kind of naive comment on my part, I think that people have gotten so used to this thing being a disaster that a day and a week and a month where it looks not as disastrous, they feel it's okay. It's like when you're banging your head against the wall and you say, doctor, what do I do? Well, quit banging your head against the wall. You still got a gaping wound. You're still bleeding. But you're not banging your head against the wall. So our expectations have gotten so low that anything that looks like it's quieted down from that is good.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that supporters of this law will point out. They will say this is the law of the land, and when that is one of their core arguments for keeping it in place, just in favor of the status quo, that means reformers or people who support repeal are facing an uphill battle against the status quo, and that's always the case. It was an uphill battle to reach health reform, and now it's going to be an uphill battle to reform health reform or repeal the Affordable Care Act. But either way, that status quo advantage is something that Obamacare is enjoying despite its very public failures in Oregon and in all of the other states.
Very good point. Hadley, great seeing you again. Thank you. Hadley Heath, Independent Women's Forum. In the meantime, the PC is dead. Long live, well, what exactly? How the demise of the desktop has some touting alternatives that are over the top.